players. Certainly time will tell. We believe this is a very good class, but every head coach in the country is getting up there right now and saying he believes this class is good. So the great thing about signing day is we're all undefeated. But this is a class that's ranked relatively high. What that means, I don't know. We'll find out in 3 years. The one thing we talk about the rankings in this conference is this past year in Bowling Green, we had 10 All-MAC players, which I believe is the most since what, 2004? Okay, of those 10 players, 8 of them were 2 stars and 2 of them were walk-ons. So the thing that we take the most pride in our program is obviously we want to recruit good players and good student athletes, but I think once we get them, what do we do with them? And right now, I believe our coaches and our strength staff are doing a great job developing our players. But again, 4 years ago, I was up here for the first time, and part of that class were Chris Jones, Jordan Russos, and Dwayne Woods. All 3 of those guys were 2-star guys, and I would expect all 3 of those guys would be in an NFL camp in July and August. So again, it's what we do with them. Once we get them, that's important. Once again, not to keep bringing this up every year, but 21 of these 24 players were team captains. So again, that continues to be a point of emphasis for us, recruiting leaders, and we feel we've done that again. So we'll go to the tape now, and I'll introduce these recruits one by one. Chris, if you can hit it. Okay, first player is Aaron Banks. You can let it run. Aaron was coached by Dante Culbreth, Simeon High School in Chicago. The emphasis on safeties is wanting to get guys that were tall, rangy athletes. Watching him on film, he really reminded us a lot of Gabe Martin. Gabe is going to be a junior. We believe with Aaron's length, his range, his size, he's a physical player, that we would like to recruit him, and we're hoping that he will end up being Gabe Martin's replacement in the next couple of years. So we're very excited to get Aaron here. Okay, next up, from Michigan, Clark Clancy. He was coached by Stephen Deutsch. Again, earlier I mentioned we really wanted to get some strong physical interior linemen. And the thing that we really like about Clark is we believe he's physical. I think he's athletic. We love the way he finishes blocks. And as you watch this film, he redirects very well, plays with a nice low base. And again, we just love the way he finishes plays and finishes blocks. Fred Coppage. Fred comes from a great program, St. Thomas Aquinas, down in Fort Lauderdale. They won national championships, state championships. He's coached by Rocco Casulo. In his career, he ran for 3,300 yards and scored 58 touchdowns. He's a home run hitter. He's fast. Again, they've won a national championship. He's been a 3-year starter at St. Thomas Aquinas. So this is a great program that's produced a lot of good college players. They do it every year. And the fact that Fred had the ability to be a 3-year starter there and score 58 touchdowns and rush for the amount of yards he did tells you how productive of a football player he is. And we think he can also be a kick returner for us. He'll be the 4th tailback I've coached from this high school. Joe Davidson, local product from Findlay, coached by Mark Ritzler. Very, very good athlete. Plays wide receiver, plays defensive back. Was all state as a DB, a good hoop player. We love him as a punter. Like I mentioned before, Schmeidebusch is going into his senior year, and Joe has an extremely strong leg. Just works out. Our punt system is set up for a lefty, so the fact that he was a left-footed punter is a bonus for us because we don't have to adjust the system in 2 years. Garrick Dieter is coached by Antoine Jones at Washington High School, South Bend, Indiana. Garrick first caught our eye 3 years ago. His team came here and competed in a 7-on-7 camp. And we watched him then and really liked him a lot. A year ago, we thought he was the best receiver we were recruiting. And then he committed to SMU. He was the Indiana State Player of the Year. He went to SMU. He started for him. He was their Freshman of the Year, and wanted to get closer to home for some personal reasons. And we're glad he remembered us. He's here enrolled right now. He's on campus. He's participating in our off-season program. Very athletic, plays strong to the ball, and just a very, very productive football player. He's had all types of records in Indiana. I believe he was in Sports Illustrated Faces in the Crowd one week. But very good player. Brandon English, coached by Chip Murphy, scored 23 touchdowns this year. He was an all-conference player, Central Florida. Very versatile player, good hands, very shifty, great change of direction. Remind us a lot of John Pettigrew. Same type of runner. Plays with a low base. He's not necessarily big, but he runs physical. And very excited to get him. Again, one of the 4 tailbacks that we signed. Hunter Fulkersma, coached by Tim Rogers. And I mentioned earlier, with Tyler Beck and Alex Baer graduating, we felt it was important to get 2 tight ends. And this is a big athletic body, has really good ball skills. He's relatively young for his grade. I think he's still going to grow. His father played football at Michigan for Coach Schimbeckler. And really, really excited to get him. I think he could end up becoming a 265, 270-pound tight end when it's all said and done. Isaiah Gordine. Isaiah's from Michigan, coached by John Bechtel. Another rangy, tall, really physical safety. We liked him very early in the process. We had him at our junior day almost a year ago. Just liked his body type, liked how athletic he was. He was committed to the University of Cincinnati. After their coaching change, we called him about a half an hour later and asked if he was interested, and he said he was. And we were very excited when that paper came through the fax machine today. Just good ball skills, and we think he can be a really good high safety for us. So all the safeties we've signed have a little bit more size and range to them. Patrick Hannon, Rush High School in the Cleveland area, coached by Josh Wells. He was a 4-year starter at running back and at linebacker for Brush. Had over 1,000 yards as a junior tailback. As a linebacker, we love his range. I believe he's a linebacker that can go sideline to sideline. He was the first verbal commitment we had of the class. So he was recruit number 1 for the 2013 Falcons. And never wavered. Stuck with us the whole time. And some people liked him as a running back. We really like him as a linebacker. That's the position we project him to play for us. Eric Harrell from Dr. Phillips down in Orlando, coached by Rodney Wells. He's from Chris Gallen's high school. Very good program in the Orlando area. He was second team All-State. He scored 25 touchdowns this year, had over 1,000 yards rushing. Really good hands. We also we wanted to find some big backs this year, and Eric's over 200 pounds. Runs with really good pad level. Had a chance to watch him practice before their state playoff game. Really good in pass protection, can sink his hips, can punch a blitzer. Very effective in the screen game. Like I said earlier, I really like his hands out of the backfield as well. So I think the one thing with all the tailbacks we recruited, is they're very versatile players, and they all have good ball skills that they're going to be really good threats out of the backfield for us. Darius Holiday from American Heritage High School down in Miramar, Florida, coached by Jeff Dellenbach, has a body type that really reminds us of Jarris Campbell. I think this guy is going to be a very, very big 300-pound plus defensive tackle for us. Extremely physical, bends well, had 14 sacks his junior and his senior year. And guys like this are hard to find. A guy with his size, his range, his frame, I think he's going to be a really big player for us. Okay, Ryan Hunter, coached by Rich Robbins, Canisius High School, Buffalo, New York, all-Western New York, lineman of the year in Western New York. He's from North Bay up in Ontario and attended Canisius his junior and his senior year. He's a two-time junior national weightlifting champion of Canada. If you have a chance to YouTube him, I think there's one clip there that he's taken about 360, 380 pounds, cleaning it and throwing it over his shoulders. Okay, so a very strong, plays low. He attended our camps last summer and just had a tremendous work ethic and was a dominating player for Canisius. Logan Larson, another tight end, coached by Brad Pugh, another versatile athlete. He was all conference as a running back and as a defensive tackle. Has really good ball skills. Again, I think he's another guy that's going to end up being a 260, 265 pound tight end when it's all said and done. Very smart, intelligent player. I think he will pick things up right away. Could give us some instant depth at the tight end position. Again, we love the fact that he played tailback as well. Marcus Levy from Fort Pierce Central, Florida, coached by Josh Schaefer. His head coach coached at Akron a few years ago. And again, Marcus was another young man. He was committed to Cincinnati. When the coaching change happened, we reached out. We loved his junior tape. We thought he was one of the best tailbacks that we evaluated as a junior. Committed to Cincinnati early, and was really excited to get back involved with him. Another young man that I watched practice and just loved his leadership, loved his ball skills. Ran for, in the last 2 years, 2,900 yards and 37 touchdowns. He's another bigger back. He's about 200 pounds right now. When it's all said and done, I think he'll be a 212, 215 pound tailback with really good ball skills. Also really liked the way that he stepped up in pass protection in practice. He's a very, very good player. Nate Locke, coached by Bo Alderson from Massillon Jackson over in Canton. Very smart, physical, downhill linebacker. We think he'll be an inside-the-box linebacker for us, probably play our Mike position that Dwayne Woods played, and then Paul Swan will play for us next year. Just liked how physical he was, how he played downhill. Has really good straight line speed, and has really good size potential as well. We always like the tackles that they knock the back backwards. Tim McAuliffe from Lamont, the Chicago area, coached by Eric Michaelson, two-time captain. Just watch the film. We love his toughness. We love his physicalness. We love the way he finishes blocks. Very athletic. We believe he'll be a future center for us. Again, with David K. Cueva graduating next year, we thought it was really important we recruit a good center. team made the playoffs the last 3 years and advanced to the semis the last 2. Did I get that right, Coach Dirk?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ronnie Moore. When I think of Ronnie, first of all, coached by Coach Robert Veit, but this is one of the most dynamic playmakers that we saw on film. He scored a touchdown 5 different ways last year. He scored a touchdown throwing for 1, rushing for 1, receiving, kick return, and an interception return. Just again, I'm going to say it again, a very, very dynamic playmaker. He was the Offensive Player of the Year in Central Florida. He's an All-State player. He was committed to Cincinnati before the coaching change. So there's a little bit of a theme here with some of our skilled players. And this is one of those examples that it was really worked out well, that we had some scholarships at the end that we were able to recruit these guys. A lot of times you might be filled up, and we had some room at the end, and we were able to get a player of this caliber. He could be a kick returner for us, a punt returner. Their quarterback got hurt this year. He ended up starting 2 or 3 games for him as a quarterback. Just does it all. It's quick, great change of direction. I think he's a guy that certainly has an opportunity to have an impact early. Okay, Omarpierre Louis from Seminole Ridge High School. He was coached by Matt Dickman. Matt is from Napoleon, Ohio, so there was a local connection. Really liked him again. Another long, rangy safety for us. He started receiver and corner for Seminole Ridge. We like him as a safety. Over the last 2 seasons, he had 16 interceptions. He has corner cover skills, and he hits like a linebacker. And he'll fit in very nicely in our 4-2-5 defensive scheme that we start 3 safeties. Very smooth athlete. Tio Redding, coached by Frito Calderon. He was a 23rd ranked player in the state of Michigan this year. Watch his ups. Has a 37-inch vertical jump and excellent ball skills. But every catch on there was 10 feet above the rim. Okay, Mike Rogers from Bishop Loras High School in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We became aware of him when we recruited James Kanapke. James was also from Bishop Loras, and when we evaluated James, we saw this receiver on film that we really liked. This guy's a 4-time state champion. He had over 1,000 yards as a junior. They didn't throw the ball as much as senior year, but a really good playmaker. And again, committed to us very early in the process. Paul Sen. Paul's a junior college linebacker, coached by Tom Kraft. He was 2nd team all-conference. Smart, physical, and he can give us immediate help at linebacker. Again, really wanted to get an older guy at that position. In part, last year when we recruited Jaleel Crowley, we thought Jaleel would be a linebacker, and he ended up being a defensive end. So we had to get some instant depth at linebacker, and we think Paul will give us that. He's already enrolled, taking classes. He's in our off-season program, and he'll participate in spring football. Okay, Jason Shepard. Jason is also from Seminole Ridge High School. It's the same high school as Omarpierre Louis. Senior year, he had 15 tackles for loss. He is a very quick, very dynamic pass rusher. And we thought this past year we got great pressure inside, but at times we didn't win as much on the edge as we needed to. And the emphasis just to really get a pass rushing defensive end. Second team All-State, first team All-County. And again, the big thing we liked about him was his quickness, how he gets off the football, and we think he can be a very dynamic pass rusher for us. Shannon Smith from Marist High School in Chicago, coached by Pat Dunn. Quick, explosive, plays with a really high motor. Reminded us a little bit on high school film, and I hate to make this comparison, but he reminded us on high school film with Chris Jones. So I just set a very high standard for you, Shannon. But really good inside player. Great high school program. And Austin Valdez. Austin is the quarterback of the class, just from about 20 minutes, half hour up the road there at Sylvania Southview. Coached by Jim Mazy's, Sean Joplin's high school. Really a different type of quarterback for us, more of a dual threat guy. He threw for over 2,000 yards. He rushed for over 1,000. Has a very strong arm, good athlete. And again, a great high school program. All right, so there it is. Here's our 2013 signing class. Any questions that anybody has?
If you have a question, I'm going to ask if you use the mic here. John.
Coach, would you start us out talking a little bit about the number of kids that you have from Florida? It's an eight-man class from Florida.
Well, I think part of it, John, is that we went into the year thinking we were going to have somewhere in the 15, 16 range. And I think it's twofold. Most of the players from Florida are skilled players. 4 tailbacks, safety. The other thing is that we started the class, we started with a lower number. For whatever reason, the trend in recruiting is a lot of players from the Midwest pick their schools very early in the process. And I don't know why that dynamic happens, but most of the top players in the state, if you look at our recruiting class, over half of it, or almost 2/3 of it, are what I would call the state of Bowling Green, within 5 hours of Bowling Green. And then the other third is from Florida. A lot of our early commitments were local, and we ended up having 5, 6, 7 more scholarships than we anticipated. A lot of the uncommitted players are from Florida. And we've said that we want the heart and soul of our program to come from the Midwest, but we'll go after the arms and legs anywhere we can find them. And they were good players. So and we've had success with those guys here as well. So it's just the way it worked out.
Obviously, a lot of people interested in Austin Valdez. What was it about him that you liked? And I don't want to obviously put pressure on him, but how soon can he come in and compete?
Well, it's hard to say that until you get him here. I mean, we liked Austin Valdez. We offered him a scholarship, and he accepted it. So that's what we thought of him. We love the program he comes from. We think the world of Coach Mazy's. He brings his team here every year to our 7-on-7 tournament. And so we had a chance to not only watch a quarterback, but see him compete. And just how competitive Austin is probably the driving factor. He's got a very strong arm. We love the way the ball comes off his wrist, and he's also a really good athlete. He's a guy that can keep a play alive, that if receivers are covered and there's a crease, he can get you 12 or 14 yards. So it was arm strength, it was overall athletic ability. We love the high school program, and we really think he's a good kid that has good leadership potential for us as well. We might as well just let him hold it for a while.
Maybe I should hand it to others. While we're talking about the locals, can we also talk a little bit about Davidson? Smith-Bush really kind of sets the bar in terms of an athlete who's a punter, but it looks like Davidson lives up to that standard also.
Yeah, I mean, if the long snapper snaps the ball 10 feet high, this guy has a chance of catching it. So he's a good athlete. And we really debated recruiting him as a receiver. He's a very good receiver, very good defensive back, but I think can be an exceptional punter. And he was at our camp, and we had a chance to watch him punt, and he just has a very strong leg. He hit it consistently, and I think when that becomes his full-time job, he'll be exceptional at it. But he's a guy we would anticipate, if we can stay healthy, that we could redshirt, and that he'd have a chance to be a 4-year starter for us.
You mentioned the running backs having a chance, basically because there's an opportunity there. Is there another position or another group of guys who have a chance to compete right away?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to give all these guys a chance to compete right away. Until you see them and how they pick things up and how mature they are and how they handle training camp, it's really hard to say who can play early. With 4 tailbacks in our tailback situation, there's an obvious 1 or 2 of those guys are going to have to give us at the very least depth, and they'll have a chance to start. It'll be very competitive, but there's a number of guys there. We need depth at linebacker. If a guy can rush the passer, he can rush the passer. In our defense, in our different packages, there's times we have 5 safeties on the field. The other thing you never know about is you hope you stay healthy, but a lot of times freshmen play because of injuries. So the mindset of all these guys has to be they're coming here to play early, and if they're not going to play a lot, we'll redshirt them and put them in the weight room for a year, and we'll get the advantage of having a 22, 23-year-old senior. And I would say next year will be the first time since we've been here as a staff that we'll actually have that. We had, what, 1 fifth-year senior last year that was recruited. So, you know, our program is now built on a really strong foundation, and we're going to have more fifth-year seniors who play for us, which is what we've been working towards for the last 4 years. Tweeting?
Of course I am.
All right, good. About Bowling Green football, right?
All good things about you.
Good, thanks. I'll pay you later.
Other questions?
Nothing, Jack?
John and I talked already.
Okay. You designated him to ask him?
You know, most coaches say that today is a great day, but really, why is today a great day without being, you know, in the cliche mode?
I mean, this is the end of a long process. To some degree, for us, it's a little. We expected 22 letters today, and we got 22 letters. You know, it's just amazing. ESPN has made a whole show about it, and you see staffs in the war room jumping up and down. And I mean, 90% of those guys already know they have the letter. So, you know, I think a lot of it is theatrics and acting. It's when that letter comes through, it's relief. I mean, we're happy and we're thrilled, but it's a lot of work. We put a lot of time into it. The other part of recruiting that's real is it's getting moved up earlier and earlier. So we're consumed with the 14 class already. I mean, we're already evaluating those guys, and that process has started. So, you know, for us, it used to be this class finished, you take a deep breath, and you start the next class. The way the recruiting is now, I mean, we've been evaluating the 14 class for the last 3 months. So we had a staff meeting today when the letters were in, and we started meeting about 14 players. So, you know, it is a good day because we filled needs. we got student athletes and players that we feel really good about, that we think will become very good players for Bowling Green. In 3 years, we'll really know. And that's cliche-ish, and nobody does it. Every coach brings it up. I would love it if they re-rank this class in 3 years. How many are still in your program? How many are in the 2 deep? How many have made all conference? That's the true measure, but nobody has a press conference or has an ESPN special on that. So I mean, that's how we feel about it, because I mean, this class I know is ranked high, and maybe people are excited about that. But 4 years ago we got up here, and that class was ranked low, and it had Jordan Russos and Chris Jones and Ted Ouellette and some really good football players. And so you know, we feel good about these guys. The fact that other people does too maybe is a little bit of validation, but we think it's a good group. But more importantly, we feel we have an existing locker room right now and a really good foundation to our program that these guys will help build the program. I think the foundation is set, and can these guys make us better? We believe so.
Anything else?
You got that? I got one. I do have one.
All right, good.
Yes, John, you forgot to ask this one.
You got to have proof you were here on video.
You mentioned that some players may wait to enroll till January. I'm not getting into specifics which one, but when will you make that decision?
But there's 2 or 3 players on this list that we have told them that the scholarship may not be available to January, and we told them that when we recruited them. Now, if we have attrition, they'll come in August. But because we have so many fifth-year seniors, you know, we anticipate that we'll have a fair amount of mid-year graduates. And you're allowed to replace guys that are mid-year that graduate. So when it's all said and done, all of these guys might be here in August. We'll probably have a better idea of that early August. Can you get one more? It should be TV. You've already got your clip, right? You got your sound bite?
Oh, yeah.
You've mentioned this year and in years past the value of having team captains sign. Will you talk a little bit about where the value is, where that value comes from?
Everything that you see in our building is the emphasis that we put on leadership in our program. Now, I would say this. Usually in high school, the best players end up becoming captains. And so, you know, to say that, hey, 21 of the 24 are captains, probably most classes, at least half of them are captains. You know, if you're going to value leadership in your program, it's hard to imagine a guy that's not his high school captain that ever would have a chance to be a good leader in a college program. So we try to recruit leaders, but again, I think a lot of it correlates. If you're offered a Division I scholarship, you're probably one of the best players on your high school team, and if you're one of the best players on your high school team, you're probably getting elected captain. So, I'm sure some of these guys will give me headaches, and they were captains too. So just the nature of what we do. All right. Again, thanks for coming out.